Have you ever felt like your dreams were just out of reach? Like no matter how hard you tried, you couldn't make them come true? Well, what if I told you that the key to changing your life is already inside you? That's right. Your own imagination might be the most powerful tool you have. This is what Neville Goddard taught, and his ideas have changed countless lives. Goddard believed that our imagination isn't just for daydreaming, it's the secret to creating the life we want. Think about it for a second. Everything around us, from the chair you're sitting on to the device you're using to watch this video, started as an idea in someone's mind. Someone imagined it first, and then it became real. Goddard said we can use this same power to shape our own lives. It's not about wishing on stars or just thinking positive thoughts. It's about really believing in the power of your own mind to change your world. But here's the thing. This isn't always easy. It means looking at yourself and your beliefs in a whole new way. It means being brave enough to imagine a different life, even when things around you might not look so great. That's what we're going to explore in this video, how to tap into this amazing power that Goddard talked about. Now, you might be thinking, this sounds nice, but does it really matter? Well, let me ask you this. What happens if you don't learn to use your imagination this way? You might end up feeling stuck, like you're watching life pass you by. Maybe you've felt this way before, like you're in a job you don't like, or a situation that makes you unhappy, but you can't seem to change it. This is the risk of not understanding what Goddard taught. If we don't learn to use our imagination to shape our reality, we might keep repeating the same patterns over and over. We might keep running into the same problems, feeling the same frustrations. It's like being stuck in a loop, always coming back to the same place no matter how hard we try to move forward. But here's the exciting part. It doesn't have to be this way. Goddard's teachings show us how to break free from these old patterns. They show us how to use our imagination to create new possibilities, new opportunities, and new experiences. It's like having a key that can unlock doors you never even knew existed. Of course, this isn't always easy. It means facing some tough truths about ourselves. We might have to look at beliefs we've held for a long time and ask if they're really serving us. We might have to challenge ideas we've always thought were true. This can be scary and it can feel uncomfortable. But remember, this discomfort is the price of growth. It's the feeling of stretching beyond our old limits and into new possibilities. So who was this man who had such powerful ideas about imagination and reality? Neville Goddard wasn't some distant guru or a scientist in a lab. He was a regular person, just like you and me, who discovered something amazing about how our minds work. Goddard was born in 1905 in Barbados. He came to the United States as a young man to study theater. But his life took an unexpected turn when he started exploring spiritual and metaphysical ideas. He became fascinated by the power of the human mind and how it could shape reality. What made Goddard special wasn't just his ideas, but how he shared them. He didn't use complicated language or hard-to-understand concepts. Instead, he talked about these powerful ideas in ways that everyday people could understand and use in their lives. He gave lectures and wrote books that explained how we could use our imagination to change our lives. Goddard's teachings weren't about some far-off mystical practices. They were about practical ways to use our minds to create the life we want. He believed that everyone had this power, not just a select few. According to Goddard, whether you wanted a better job, a loving relationship, or just a happier life, the key was in your own imagination. One of the things that made Goddard's ideas so powerful was that he lived what he taught. He used these practices in his own life and saw amazing results. This wasn't just theory for him. It was a way of life, and he wanted to share this knowledge with as many people as possible. Goddard's teachings touched on many areas of life. He talked about how to use imagination to improve relationships, find success in work, and even heal the body. But at the heart of all his teachings was a simple idea, that our imagination is the creative power of the universe, and we can use it to shape our reality. Now, you might be thinking, this sounds too good to be true, and you're right to be skeptical. After all, we're taught from a young age that life is hard and that we have to struggle to get what we want. But Goddard challenged these ideas. He said that the world outside us is really a reflection of what's going on inside us. Change your inner world, he said, and the outer world will follow. This doesn't mean that everything will magically change overnight. Goddard never promised instant results or effortless success. What he offered was a way of thinking and living that could lead to profound changes over time. He taught that with practice and persistence, we could learn to use our imagination to create the life we truly want. One of the most exciting things about Goddard's teachings is that they're not just about getting things. They're about becoming the person you want to be. Goddard believed that as we change our inner world, we naturally become different on the outside too. We start to act differently, make different choices, and attract different experiences. Think about it this way. Have you ever noticed how, when you're in a good mood, good things seem to happen more often? Or when you're feeling confident, opportunities seem to pop up out of nowhere? This is a small taste of what Goddard was talking about. He believed we could take this to a whole new level, consciously shaping our experiences through the power of our imagination. Now, you might be wondering, if this is so powerful, why isn't everyone doing it? That's a great question. The truth is, many people do use these ideas, even if they don't know about Goddard. Successful athletes visualize their performance before a big game. Entrepreneurs imagine their businesses thriving before they even start. Artists see their creations in their mind before they put brush to canvas. But Goddard took this further. He said we could use this same power in every area of our lives. Whether it's finding love, improving our health, or achieving our dreams, Goddard believed the key was in our imagination. Of course, this doesn't mean we can just sit back and wait for things to happen. Goddard's teachings are about active imagination, really feeling and experiencing what we want in our minds. It's about creating such a vivid inner experience that our outer world can't help but change to match it. This might sound strange at first. After all, we're taught to focus on the real world, not our imagination. But Goddard challenged this idea. He said that what we think of as the real world is actually a result of our past thoughts and beliefs. By changing these inner patterns, we can change our outer experience. One of the most powerful aspects of Goddard's teachings is that they put us in control of our lives. Instead of feeling like victims of circumstance, we can start to see ourselves as creators of our experience. This doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending everything is perfect. It means taking responsibility for our inner world and using our imagination to create positive change. Goddard's ideas have influenced many modern self-help and spiritual teachings. You might have heard of the law of attraction or manifestation techniques. Many of these ideas have roots in what Goddard taught, but Goddard's teachings go deeper than just trying to get things. They're about understanding the nature of reality and our place in it. One of the beautiful things about Goddard's teachings is that they can work for anyone. It doesn't matter where you come from, what your background is, or what you've been through. Goddard believed that everyone has this power within them. It's just a matter of learning how to use it. Now, you might be thinking, this all sounds great, but how do I actually do this? Don't worry, we're going to explore that in this video. we'll look at some of Goddard's key ideas and how you can start applying them in your life. Remember, this isn't about learning a bunch of complicated techniques. It's about understanding a simple but powerful truth about how your mind works. As we go through these ideas, try to keep an open mind. Some of what we'll talk about might challenge what you've always believed about how the world works. That's okay. You don't have to accept everything right away. Just be willing to consider new possibilities. After all, that's what imagination is all about, seeing beyond what is to what could be. Goddard's teachings aren't just about personal success. They're about understanding our true nature and our connection to the world around us. He believed that as we tap into the power of our imagination, we not only improve our own lives, but contribute to making the world a better place. So are you ready to explore this amazing power that's already within you? Are you ready to see how your imagination can transform your life? Let's dive deeper into Neville Goddard's teachings and discover how you can unlock your inner power. Imagine for a moment that your mind is like a magical paintbrush. With every thought, every feeling, you're painting the canvas of your life. This is how Neville Goddard saw our imagination. He didn't think of it as just daydreaming or wishful thinking. To him, imagination was the very tool that shapes our reality. Goddard taught that our imagination is much more powerful than we usually think. It's not just about coming up with new ideas or being creative. It's about actually creating our experiences in life. He believed that what we imagine with feeling and belief will eventually show up in our real life. Think about the last time you were really looking forward to something. Maybe it was a vacation, a special event, or meeting someone you like. Remember how you imagined it in your mind? You probably thought about how it would look, how you'd feel, what you'd do. Goddard said this is actually the first step in making something happen. But here's the key. It's not just about thinking about what you want. It's about really feeling it as if it's already happened. Goddard said that our imagination is most powerful when we combine it with strong emotions. It's like adding fuel to a fire. The more real we can make something feel in our mind, the more likely it is to become real in our life. Now you might be thinking, but I imagine good things all the time, and they don't always happen. That's a fair point. Goddard didn't say that every passing thought would instantly become reality. He taught that it's the thoughts and images we return to often, the ones we really believe and feel strongly about, that shape our lives. This idea might seem strange at first. After all, we're taught to focus on the real world, not what's in our imagination. But Goddard challenged this view. He said that what we think of as the real world is actually the result of past imaginings, our own and those of others. By changing what we imagine now, we can change our future reality. Goddard's view of imagination isn't about ignoring problems or pretending everything is perfect. It's about using our inner power to create positive change. It's like having a toolbox for life, and imagination is the most powerful tool in that box. Whether you want to improve your relationships, find success in your work, or just feel happier, Goddard believed the key was in using your imagination the right way. One of Goddard's most powerful teachings is the idea of living in the end. But what does this mean? It's not about thinking about the end of your life. Instead, it's about imagining that you've already achieved your goal or desire and living from that place in your mind. Let's say you want a new job. Instead of just thinking about wanting the job or even imagining getting the job, Goddard would say to imagine already having the job. Feel how it feels to wake up in the morning knowing you have this job. Imagine the satisfaction of doing work you love, the interactions with your new colleagues, even the feeling of receiving your first paycheck. The key here is to make it as real as possible in your mind. Use all your senses. What do you see in this new job? What do you hear? How do you feel? The more real you can make it in your imagination, the more powerful this technique becomes. Now, this might sound a bit like pretending or fooling yourself, but Goddard saw it differently. He believed that by living in the end in our imagination, we actually align ourselves with that reality. We start to think, feel, and act in ways that match our imagined reality. And when we do that, we naturally start moving towards making it real. This doesn't mean you ignore your current situation. You still take action in the real world. But your actions come from a place of already having what you want, rather than from a place of lack or need. It's a subtle but powerful shift. Living in the end isn't always easy. It can feel strange or even uncomfortable at first. After all, we're used to focusing on what's in front of us, not what we imagine. But with practice, it can become a powerful tool for change. It's like exercising a muscle. The more you do it, the stronger and more natural it becomes. Goddard taught that when we live in the end in our imagination, we create a new mood or state of being. This new state then starts to attract experiences that match it. It's not about forcing things to happen, but about aligning yourself with the reality you want to experience. Closely tied to the idea of living in the end is what Goddard called the law of assumption. This law states that what we assume to be true will become true in our experience. It's like we're constantly sending out signals to the universe, and what we assume is what we're signaling. Here's how it works. Let's say you assume that people are generally kind and helpful. With this assumption, you're more likely to notice kindness in others, to interpret actions as helpful, and to attract kind people into your life. On the flip side, if you assume people are mean or out to get you, you'll likely notice more negative behaviors and have more negative interactions. The law of assumption isn't about ignoring reality or pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing what you want to focus on and assume as true. It's like tuning a radio. You're choosing which station to listen to. Goddard taught that we're always assuming something. The question is, are we doing it consciously or unconsciously? Are we assuming things that help us or hold us back? By becoming aware of our assumptions and choosing them deliberately, we can start to shape our experience of life. This law can be applied to any area of life. If you want success in your career, start assuming that you are successful. If you want a loving relationship, assume that you are loved and lovable. The key is to really feel these assumptions as true, not just think about them. Now, this doesn't mean that everything will magically change overnight. The law of assumption works with consistent practice over time. It's about creating a new pattern of thinking and feeling that gradually reshapes your reality. One powerful way to apply the law of assumption is through self-talk. Pay attention to how you talk to yourself. Are you constantly assuming failure or difficulty? Try shifting to assumptions of success and ease. Instead of, "This is going to be hard," try, "I can handle this easily." Instead of, "I never have enough money," try, "I always have more than enough." Remember, the law of assumption isn't about denying current challenges. It's about choosing where to put your focus and energy. By assuming the best, you open yourself up to more positive possibilities and experiences. Goddard believed that the law of assumption was so powerful because it aligns us with our desires at a deep level. When we truly assume something is true, we naturally start to think, feel, and act in ways that match that assumption. And when we do that, we start to see evidence of it in our lives. This law can be especially powerful when combined with living in the end. By assuming your desire is already true and living as if it is, you create a powerful force for change in your life. It's like setting a new direction for your life, and then consistently moving in that direction. The law of assumption also highlights the importance of watching our thoughts and beliefs. Every assumption we make, conscious or unconscious, is shaping our experience. By becoming more aware of our assumptions and deliberately choosing positive ones, we can start to create more positive experiences in our lives. Goddard taught that the law of assumption isn't just about getting things or achieving goals. It's about becoming the person you want to be. By assuming the best about yourself and your life, you naturally start to embody those qualities and attract those experiences. Revision technique. One of Neville Goddard's most intriguing and powerful teachings is the revision technique. This isn't about changing the past in reality, but about changing how we remember and interpret past events in our minds. Goddard believed that by revising our memories, we could change our present and future. Here's how it works. At the end of each day, Goddard suggested reviewing the events of the day. If anything unpleasant or unwanted happened, he taught to reimagine it in a way that you would have preferred. For example, if you had an argument with someone, you might revise it in your mind to a pleasant conversation where you both understood each other. This might sound like just pretending or denying reality, but Goddard saw it differently. He believed that by revising our memories, we're actually changing the energy and patterns in our lives. We're choosing to focus on and reinforce positive experiences rather than negative ones. The revision technique isn't about living in denial or avoiding dealing with problems. It's about changing our perspective and emotional reactions to events. When we revise negative experiences, we're less likely to carry anger, hurt, or resentment forward. This can lead to more positive interactions and experiences in the future. Goddard also taught that revision could be used for past events, not just the current day. If there's a memory from your past that still bothers you, he suggested revising it in your imagination. See it playing out the way you wish it had happened. Feel the emotions you would have felt if it had gone well. This practice can be incredibly healing. It's not about changing what physically happened, but about changing how that event affects you now. By revising painful memories, we can release their hold on us and open up new possibilities for the future. Now that we've explored some of Goddard's key ideas, let's put them into practice with a simple exercise. This exercise combines living in the end, the law of assumption, and the power of imagination. Start by choosing something you want to experience in your life. It could be a new job, a relationship, improved health, or anything else that's important to you. Now, close your eyes and imagine that you already have this desire fulfilled. See yourself in this new situation. What does it look like? What sounds do you hear? How does it feel to have this desire realized? Really let yourself sink into this experience in your imagination. As you do this, pay attention to the emotions you feel. Do you feel joy, peace, excitement? Whatever the feeling is, let it fill your body. This emotional component is crucial in making the imagined scene feel real to your subconscious mind. Now open your eyes. For the rest of the day, try to carry that feeling with you. Act as if what you imagined is already true. How would you walk, talk, and interact with others if your desire was already fulfilled? Goddard suggested doing this exercise regularly, especially before sleep. He believed that the moments before sleep were particularly powerful for impressing ideas on our subconscious mind. Remember, this isn't about forcing anything to happen. It's about aligning your inner world with what you want to experience. As you practice this, you might start to notice small changes in your life. You might feel more confident, see new opportunities, or find yourself naturally taking actions that move you towards your goal. As you start to apply Goddard's teachings, you might encounter some doubts or challenges. This is completely normal and even expected. After all, these ideas ask us to think about reality in a very different way than we're used to. One common doubt is, what if it doesn't work? Remember, Goddard never promised instant results. This is a practice, and like any practice, it takes time and consistency to see results. If you don't see immediate changes, don't get discouraged. Keep focusing on living in the end and assuming the best. Another challenge might be negative thoughts or contradictory evidence in your current reality. Goddard taught that when these arise, we shouldn't fight against them. Instead, gently return to our desired end. It's like training a puppy. When it wanders off, you simply guide it back without punishment or frustration. You might also worry about whether you're doing it right. Goddard emphasized feeling more than technique. If you can feel the reality of your desire, you're on the right track. Don't worry about getting every detail perfect in your imagination. Focus on the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Some people worry that using these techniques is somehow selfish or wrong. Goddard believed that as we align ourselves with our desires, we naturally become better, happier people. This, in turn, allows us to contribute more positively to the world around us. Remember, overcoming doubts is part of the process. Each time you choose to return to your desired end, despite doubts, you're strengthening your ability to shape your reality. Neville Goddard's teachings offer a powerful approach to creating the life we want. By understanding the power of our imagination, living in the end, applying the law of assumption, and using techniques like revision, we can start to shape our reality in amazing ways. Remember, this isn't about instant magic or ignoring real-world actions. It's about aligning our inner world with our desires and letting that alignment guide our choices and actions. As we practice these ideas, we may find ourselves naturally moving towards our goals, seeing new opportunities, and experiencing positive changes in our lives. The key is to approach these teachings with an open mind and a willingness to practice. Like any skill, using your imagination to shape your reality takes time and consistency to master. Be patient with yourself and enjoy the process of discovery. Goddard's ideas invite us to take responsibility for our inner world and, by extension, our outer experiences. They empower us to become active creators of our lives rather than passive observers. As you apply these teachings, you might find that not only do your circumstances change, but you change as well. So, why not give it a try? Choose something you want to experience, imagine it vividly, feel it as real, and carry that feeling with you. You might be surprised at the doors that open and the changes that unfold. Remember, according to Goddard, the power to shape your reality has been within you all along. Now it's time to use it.